why it is that civilians have to get onto boats. When countries have big naval ship, big, that can fill aid to its capacity.
If there is any next flotilla, would you be part of it?
Part of it was symbolic. It is a direct non-violent action of resistance, and we have to frame it as such.
We see many Muslim countries not doing practical things to solve this issue, and we see South Africa and the people of South Africa raising their voice.
We're civilians. We don't have big naval vessels. Governments have failed. So it is up to the people to get onto the boats and sail.
Don't you think that there should be one flotilla sailing to the shores of the US?
Is it okay for me to be eating or drinking, consuming, buying, wearing clothes that have been manufactured on stolen Palestinian land?
You can feel the pain of the Palestinians and what they are going through.
It is intergenerational trauma that Palestinians have been living through for decades. It is a command to stand up firmly for justice. It's not, stand up firm. It's a command. Stand up firmly for justice.
Assalamu alaikum, welcome to Asad Aijaz Podcast. And you all have been knowing that there is plenty happening since the October 2023, and there is a wave of awareness regarding the Palestine issue. The most important factor in all this was the efforts to raise this voice through the flotillas. And when we talk about flotillas, the Freedom Flotilla or the Middle East Flotilla or the Smooth Flotilla, we have many people coming from different backgrounds for this cause. One of the key member of the Smooth Flotilla, Miss Fatima Hendricks, who's from South Africa, is right now in Lahore, and I have this opportunity to meet her and to have podcast with her. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi
How are you?
I'm good, and I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much to the Pakistani people for your hospitality.
Thank you very much. The first thing when we hear about South Africa being Pakistani is cricket.
Yes.
Okay.
And we're good at it, but not as good as Pakistan.
No. South Africa has always been good. But recently, when we have this issue of Gaza, when we see all the nations, speaking for this and raising their voice, but actually some nations who have done practical things like going to the courts, to the international courts, raising it in the UN, getting the resolution, trying to get the resolution passed, we see the name of South Africa very loud and clear. So, and you hailing from that background, you being part of that flotilla, it's an opportunity for the world to see that South Africa has raised beyond the things like race or religion or the background. So how was this possible? Because we see many Muslim countries not doing practical things to solve this issue, and we see South Africa and the people of South Africa raising their voice. So what is the inspiration? What was the thing that inspired you to do all this?
That's a really powerful question, because it speaks to the experiences around the globe of settler colonialism. And if we look at South Africa is a colonized country, a country that was colonized by the British, by the Dutch. It is a country that had to fight apartheid, and the same mechanisms of oppression have been used on the African people, of ethnic cleansing and genocide in South Africa, of apartheid, and it is being replicated all over the world. In time immemorial, historically speaking. And so when we look at what happened in the ethnic cleansing during this decades-long occupation of Palestine, we see the same modus operandi, one that really is by design about the theft of land, the extractive mechanisms of extracting resources and of killing people to get those resources. It is expansionist, and we see that same ideologies replicated around the world. And therefore, South Africa and Palestine in the shared relationship of having been apartheid states, having been on the receiving end of settler colonialism, and having been very active in its own liberation through resistance and different struggles, have a lot in common.
Because you have the experience of all this, you have been through all this, and that's why it's quite a genuine comment that you can feel the pain of the Palestinians and what they are going through. But you are coming from a healthcare background.
Yes.
So what compelled you to shift it to the humanitarian or the activism or raising voice for the people who are not on your borders, for the people who are not near to you, who people different languages speak different languages? So what inspired you from shifting or I should say quote unquote moving towards the humanitarian activities?
So healthcare is about human dignity. Healthcare is about the preservation and elevation of human life in ways that are healthy and fulfilling and prosperous and flourishing. And when we have the system of settler colonialism, it is about stripping away the human dignity of people. It is about the cleansing of people, ethnic cleansing of people through mass disabling crimes. It is through disease. It is through destruction of health infrastructure, educational infrastructure, economic livelihood infrastructure. So if we look at what's by design happening within Gaza, these are issues that are fundamental to human life and dignity. So as healthcare professionals, as someone like, I'm also a member of Healthcare Workers for Palestine South Africa, as well as other, work within the other spaces of healthcare. I work specifically in the area of mental health and well-being. And so if we want to talk about the occupation, we really need to recognize that it's not just something that is acute. It is intergenerational trauma that Palestinians have been living through for decades, right? And the kind of trauma that's currently being experienced is going to still last many, many generations into the future. And this is the base and the perspective from which I come. But the health underpinning is through my own faith motivations. So if you look at the Maqasid-e-Shariah, the Maqasid al-Quran, the principles are about the preservation of faith, the preservation of life, right? The preservation of human dignity, the preservation of lineage, the preservation of wealth, of property. And these are what underpins the principles of our faith. And when we see the kinds of injustices that are being, enacted upon the peoples of the world in different spaces, these are the injustices that we as a collective, irrespective of what backgrounds and little silos we're in, we collectively have to raise our voices.
All the movement of flotillas,
Right.
I already named them. So they were part of a symbolic struggle and awareness campaigns. And we all know that what happened, and everything is clear. It achieved the goal that the awareness is there, and everybody knows that who is the occupier, who is who's killing the babies over there, who's killing who's destroying the cities over there. This target is achieved. But going through this experience of sailing through the sea, going into the prison, then coming back to the country, if there is any next flotilla, would you be part of it, or you say that no, this is done?
So you raise a very important observation. Part of it was symbolic. It is a direct nonviolent action of resistance, and we have to frame it as such. The first flotilla sailed in 2008, and the flotillas have been sailing ever since. And this, because it was the largest flotilla of over 50 boats, 44 countries, there was symbolism in it that we as a collective humanity recognize the evil of genocide, we recognize the evil of the occupation, and we together will stand against this injustice. We're civilians, we don't have big naval vessels, the governments have failed, so it is up to the people to get onto the boats and sail. And across every conceivable difference, people sailed. So this was more than just in the symbolism.
Okay.
It was really about direct nonviolent action that we have to use as civilians every means at our disposal to fight injustice wherever it might be, whether that is through writing, through artistic means, through boycotts, divestment and sanctions campaigns, through protesting, being on the streets, to actually physically marching to the borders like the march to Gaza. Right? I mean, the Global Flotilla came on the back of the global movement to Gaza, where 4,000 activists showed up at the border. And then through their neighbors, we know what happened with Egypt, right?
Yes.
And so this is the way that we describe this as direct nonviolent action, as civilians resisting the occupation.
And so you would be part of the next, if it's announced, or it's now done?
It is never done. Our work is never done.
Okay.
We continue to resist. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala facilitates an opening, yes, inshallah.
Okay, there is a different sort of thing that I was thinking. We have raised this issue through flotilla going to the shores of Gaza. Don't you think that there should be one flotilla sailing to the shores of the US to raising the voice that actually you are behind the atrocities in actual? Because the occupiers cannot do this alone, and they have a backing of United States of America. So if it's a non-violent or a part of a symbolic representation, this announcement would matter a lot. That the people know that actually what's the issue against that country, that most powerful country, that every time vetoes if there is any resolution for the ceasefire, and not one or two times, multiple times, despite everybody is voting. So there should be a shift of direction to raise this. What you say about this?
So it's a very interesting perspective, and I love creative thinking. But I do want to talk about two parts of that, what you're suggesting. The one part is about a fundamental question about why it is that civilians have to get onto boats. When countries have big naval ships, that can fill aid to its capacity. These same countries that supported us halfway and left us in the ocean, that turned their boats around and left, right? So we need to be putting pressure on our governments and ask the question, governments, why are you not sailing? Why are you not breaking the siege? Why are you not breaking this illegal occupation? And this is where we as ordinary citizens really have the power of our votes, and civil society that needs to be strengthened to really be, at real grassroots level, having activism and activists at street level, which, needs to happen, building up to community level and then society. On the point of what you were talking about of directing attention to who are the people funding, the countries that are funding the genocide, that are funding this occupation, absolutely. Attention must always be directed on where the blame is. And this is a complex question because, we often look outside of the Muslim world as well. So, it is easy to talk to imperial powers and direct attention at imperial powers. Yet we know one of the previous speakers spoke about this, about the secondary violence, which is the hypocrisy that we have found manifested by the Muslims that have left the Palestinians abandoned. And not just left the Palestinians abandoned, have left Al-Aqsa abandoned. And so we as Muslims, when we talk about Al-Aqsa, we talk about Al-Aqsa in a way that really is symbolic,
Yes.
It's the third haram sharif, we have to go.
Spiritual.
It's a very kind of, we have to be more invested in our understanding.
That is symbolic.
Yes, that is symbolic.
Yes.
Really getting to the crux of how the Zionism is manifesting in a way that it is taking away the multi-faith setting of what Jerusalem was like. And if we look at, Sayyidina Umar bin Khattab and the pacts of, intercooperation of what Jerusalem was like and was able to flourish into, and where we are now, we see again the manifestation of Zionism as extractive, as racist, and expansionist.
Okay, just last two questions. One
Yes.
question is that some people went into the flotilla and successfully reached there and came back. But there are billions or millions of people who cannot go. You said 4,000 were there, but I'm sure if you have opened it to the public or everybody was able to come, there would be millions gathering there. So what the people other than the flotillas who are sitting at their homes, enjoying their family and everything, what they can do to support the campaign of awareness like flotillas or boycotts, what can they do practically in their own countries?
That's a really powerful question, because instead of deflecting accountability to others, we ask ourselves and we bring that accountability back home, because we need to recognize each one of us are accountable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it is a command to stand up firmly for justice. It's not, stand up. It's a command. Stand up firmly for justice. And this is something that we need to recognize, that this is part of our accountability. And so 4,000 marched, 500 sailed in this global Flotilla actually sailed. A big part of this was the support by the international community, where there were protests, people shut down railway stations and, ports, people working in ports refused to offload, things from the boats, etc. What is underpinning this is that we have to engage in boycott, divestment, and sanctions. We cannot still be drinking Coca-Cola. We can, last night we went to a restaurant full of the products, the banned products. So I ask, the Pakistani people, because I'm here in Pakistan, do you have the app, right? That's no thanks. In this app and other apps, you will see the boycott list. We are actively funding the occupation if we buy from these products. We are actively funding the genocide. And so each one of us needs to really audit our homes and do a moral audit of what am I taking in? Is what I am eating tayyib? Because people are so halal obsessed. Yes. But is this tayyib? Is this halal? Is it okay for me to be eating or drinking, consuming, buying, wearing clothes that have been manufactured on stolen Palestinian land? So it's if each of us recognize that we are powerful, with the little money in our pockets, we can make a huge difference. And you see the same kind of creativity that you were talking about emerge in alternate brands.
Yes.
And industries emerging. And that is the kind of, vibrancy that we need. It's one thing to be reactive in the protests. It's another thing to be strategic and identify the gaps and say, okay, khair, we're going to do, manufacture here. We see a gap here. We're going to fill the gap with that. Inshallah, we need to amplify this. And it is young people that have this energy. We are here. I'm over 50. We are here because we got us here, and it's a dark place.
You're right.
And so we have to look to young people who know better, who can learn from the mistakes of the elders instead of replicating it, and to do things with agility and with creativity and with entrepreneurship. And that is what's going to move our ummah forward as we think in global systems thinking, in ways that are not just linear of cause and effect, but ways that talk to, a systemic understanding of the root causes and how we're going to tackle these issues.
You are right, because when the boycott campaign was thriving here, I'm from Karachi, and in Karachi, the boycott campaign is much stronger still now.
Okay.
The young kids, they were telling their parents, no, they are baby killers. We don't have to buy this Israeli product or that. So that was a very important thing that raised the awareness. I did podcast with Dr. Bilal Phillips earlier. And also I'm doing podcast with people coming from different backgrounds. And when I talk about the inspiration, usually they discuss one of the name is from Lahore, and that is Sayyid Abul Maududi rahmatullah, and the ideology of him. So is there any inspiration, or is there any writings that you have read about him or known about this name?
Of course, most of the Muslim youth movements and people that have been lived in South Africa, of course. Yesterday we went to visit our Maulana's maqam, and we did a ziyarah, and we went to the museum, and it was so moving to see the actually like the female Quran, the actual handwriting, and to engage with this in such a personal, intimate way. But there is a generation that in South Africa, this was our bread and butter. In the 70s, 80s, in the readings, in the halaqat, and this together with some other, scholars from around the world that really framed our understanding of a kind of political Islam, an Islam that is really responsive to the injustices that we find around the world. So yes, it's been an honor to be able to engage in such an intimate way on my visit to Pakistan.
Okay, any thoughts about the convention where you are here? You attended that convention from the Jamaat Islami?
Yes, it's been incredible. I've never seen so many people gathered in one place. MashaAllah. The kind of vibrancy and energy has been remarkable. To see women organize so incredibly and to be with such highly accomplished women who are engaged in thought leadership, who engage in, philanthropy and education and healthcare in such massive ways has been absolutely inspirational. To be able to also meet so many delegates from around the world and to discuss our commonalities and discuss our ideas has been very, very enriching. My two suggestions as we move forward have really got to be with greater representation in roundtables and conferences on thought leadership by women. There are a handful of women today, and I think we really need and ask the question, are we serious about this ummah moving forward? And if we're serious, we have to change who is in the room in greater diversity. And that is built on three things. Number one, women. Number two, young people. Young people in their 20s and 30s need to be in the table in large numbers around the table with us. Okay? And people with disability. There are over 1 billion people with disability, and yet we do not have people with disability represented. And that's really an important. So the three things I think that we need to do, because we are one ummah. And if we speak about the ummah, we need to speak about the whole of the ummah, and not speaking about, like we don't want the colonial powers to speak about Palestine and find solutions about Palestine, excluding Palestinians, without self-determination. We as women want the same thing. We want to be part of, if we're talking about determining the future of our ummah, it is our ummah collectively. It's like having two hands that cannot clap together. We are not in competition, men and women. We are together, and together we clap, and we can do things. But if we've only got one, and very weak or absent of the other, how do we do this? And it's and that men and women partnerships and working together and having that strategic vision together is critical, and absolutely essential is the young people. Young people are the movers and shakers. These are the same movers and shakers that did the campus. What was it called when they, I forget the word, when they were sitting on, they did the campouts on campus
in
universities.
In America. Yeah.
The same ones that are driving the BDS campaigns, the same ones that are engaged in social media campaigns. young, vibrant energy. And I see it in the faces of the youth here in Pakistan. When I was able to meet some young people who were attending the Ijtima, they want to do, but what spaces to do it in. So yes, you have a strong student wing, but how do we mobilize more and more? I'm not saying that it's absent. I'm saying how do we amplify? How do we get everybody together?
Absolutely
Inshallah.
great advice. Before the close, what do you like? This is your first visit to Pakistan. What do you like in Pakistan? The people, the culture, the food,
Oh my
or
goodness.
the traffic?
Mashallah, or the weather. Mashallah. SubhanAllah, it's just been so incredible being here, just from the bustling of the streets to the very, very kindness of people. People are gentle and kind, and there's a collectiveness that is lost from around the world. There's a kind of individualism as you travel and very self-centeredness. But here, people really do care for each other. And I see that manifested in the hospitality. I see it manifested also in the kind of khidmah. We saw the khidmah being done. How these organizations that are incredible, doing every single need of this ummah, and from outside of the world as well, rising to the needs of the people in such incredible generosity and organizing that is meticulous and impeccable. So may Allah Ta'ala increase you all. Thank you so much for the hospitality, for the invitation, and of course I love the food. I'm taking spices back with me. I have a shopping list. And spices were on that list.
Thank
So
you very much
thank
for your
you.
time. You gave a lot of time, and we learned a lot of things, and your advice were great. So inshallah, it's on record, and the people listening to the advice in this organization will also look into it and how they can
Inshallah. Allah
incorporate.
bless them.
Thank you very
Very
much.
incredible.
Thanks for your time.
Assalamu
Assalamu
alaikum.
alaikum.